The United States government is announcing a diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Winter Olympics. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the move was in response to, quote, genocide and crimes against humanity perpetrated against China's predominantly Muslim Uyghur population. China's crackdown against the Uyghurs has reportedly involved mass detention, indoctrination, and forced use of contraception and sterilizations. Here's how House Speaker Nancy Pelosi reacted to the news in her weekly press conference.
We must support our athletes. That's very important. But we cannot proceed if there's nothing wrong with having the Olympics in a country that is engaged in genocide and perpetrating human rights abuses. I don't get it.
Joining us now with more are Craig Keferra, Assistant Director for Public Opinion and Foreign Policy at the Chicago Council on Global Affairs. Keferra has looked into the popularity of these kinds of boycotts with the American public. John Soares, a history professor at the University of Notre Dame, who has written about politics and the Olympics, and Brent Huffman, a journalism professor and documentary filmmaker at Northwestern University. Huffman's work has examined China's expanding influence around the world. Gentlemen, thank you all for joining us. John Soares, let's start with you, please. What is the point of this diplomatic boycott of the Winter Olympics in Beijing?
Well, what the Biden administration is trying to do is signal clear, easily understandable disapproval with the policies that Speaker Pelosi was criticizing, and do so in a way that the Chinese government will understand it, but that isn't going to punish American athletes by forcing them to stay home from the games or boycott.
Do people care that the diplomats aren't coming?
I don't know if the people care, but I think in their reactions, it's pretty clear the Chinese government is unhappy about this.
Brent Huffman, remind us again, please, why this diplomatic protest is happening and who the Uyghur people are.
Yes, so the Uyghur people are a Muslim minority within China. It's about 12 million in Xinjiang region. I've also documented Uyghurs in Pakistan and other countries, and they're facing, en masse this persecution by the Chinese government. As you mentioned, over 1 million Uyghurs have been put in, what are essentially concentration camps. It's really the most, pressing human rights story today.
What has China said about what is happening there? They're not calling them concentration camps.
Yeah, so China has totally denied these reports. There's a mountain of evidence, but they claim it's all Western propaganda, that the U.S. is making this up. The relationship is getting increasingly adversarial, and China is basically saying U.S. has its own problems, that we should deal with our own problems instead of criticizing them. But they're really denying everything, saying these are education camps or training camps for skilled labor, and of course none of that is true.
Craig Keferra, if this issue is so important, why not make it a broader boycott that includes the athletes?
Well, for one thing, the past boycott of the 1980 Games, even though it was popular ahead of and during the Games, the American public had some regrets afterwards. Only about half of Americans still supported it once the 1984 Games came around. And at that point, it was the Americans who were suffering the boycott from the Soviet athletes and their allies. And this year, in the 2021 Chicago Council survey, we find that a narrow majority of Americans support some sort of a boycott of this year's Beijing Olympics. 53% of Americans overall, including 62% of Republicans.
Because there are some U.S. officials, Arkansas Senator Representative Tom Cotton, calling for a full boycott that involves the athletes. But Craig, I mean, for the athletes, is that not detrimental? What it is to what they do for a living, to their livelihoods?
Yes, that's the argument that a number of other senators have made, even those who are quite concerned about China and human rights in China. Senator Mitt Romney, for example, who worked on hosting the Salt Lake Games back in 2002, said that it would be unfair to American athletes to expect them to boycott a games that they've been training for years and years of their life. So I think what the American government is doing here is more or less what Speaker Pelosi said, trying to split that middle between both supporting U.S. athletes and also demonstrating American concerns about human rights inside China.
And John Soares, you touched on this earlier, but how is this news being received by China?
Well, the Chinese government has been critical. Typically, governments like China that face international criticism, they treat the opportunity to host the Olympics as a kind of an international seal of approval. And what the Biden administration is saying is you're going to get to have your Olympics, but don't mistake this for a seal of approval, which makes it harder for them to explain to their own people and to the rest of the world that the Olympics means international approval of China and just about everything about it.
And Craig, what's been the history of Olympic and other sporting boycotts? Are they ever effective at making any sort of change?
Well, I think you saw with the 1980 boycott a similar sort of effect that Paul was just talking about, where the Soviet Union had hoped to showcase Moscow as a great international city, to highlight the Soviet Union as a great and peaceful country. But the U.S. boycott over the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan really did put a damper on Soviet efforts to make the Games a great spectacle in promotion of the USSR. Whether this boycott will have the same effect on Beijing's policies, it's a bit hard to say at this point.
Brent Huffman, how has the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, responded to these threats of boycott?
So far, I think they're trying to stay neutral, that they don't want to get sort of politically in the middle of this, even with what happened with Peng Shuai. I think they have, not want to get involved and not sort of take sides.
And remind us who Peng Shuai is, the tennis star in China.
A tennis star who made an accusation, a sexual assault accusation against a Chinese government official, and she sort of vanished for over 2 weeks. Many believe that that she was sort of taken in by the Chinese government and forced to not speak. She's sort of shown up here or there, but it was an issue, I think, that made the wider, U.S. and global, populations kind of pay attention to what's happening in China and why did she disappear? What's happening to these people?
John, does the U.S. need other nations to join them in this boycott in order to be effective, to really have the impact that it's hoping to have?
Well, the U.S. is trying to make a statement. The more countries that seem to sign on to the statement, the greater the international disapproval it would seem to represent. So there would be upsides for the Biden administration if more countries sign on. But I think for President Biden's purposes, making the clear statement of disapproval, even if the U.S. were the only country making it, I think he would figure that this is a worthwhile step on human rights grounds.
Okay, something to, obviously, we'll continue to watch the impact of this going forward. My thanks to our guests, John Soares, Brent Huffman, and Craig Keferra, for joining us.